Hamler in the slot to the right on 2nd and 10. McSorley looks back to his left, and he'll be sacked.
Big sack from Chase Winovich here. Let's look at the routes first. You're going to have KJ Hamler on a post route here, and he's actually going to be bracketed by Kinnell here. Kinnell has anything deep over this half of the field. You'll have the tight end here running an out route, so it's an outside release out route here. This guy runs sort of a fade fly route down the sideline, and there's another guy at the top of the screen, can't really tell what he's doing. No one's particularly open on this. We'll get another angle of the downfield routes, but no one really comes open. Michigan's only sending 4 here on the pass rush. You got Gary on the edge. And then on the other edge, you have Chase Winovich. Those are the only guys who actually get penetration here. Defensive tackles don't do a bad job. You got Kemp and Monet here. You know, they're collapsing the pocket a little bit, but nothing too serious. Gary does a really nice job here on this pass rush. Watch his engagement with number 52 here. He does a good job chopping away at the hands, and then just really showing just the speed across the edge. He gets about depth at 7 or 8 yards. That's enough to make McSorley uncomfortable already. And then you have Chase Winovich here. So, you know, Gary doesn't make the play, but he impacts the play for sure. It's good to have Gary back in full force. And then watch Chase Winovich. There's a big gap here between 66 and 77 here for Penn State. Winovich is just going to use a speed to power move kind of inside and just work his way upfield. Really violent use of his hands here. Notice how he kind of chops down on 77, and then he just bounces off the guard and he's in on the sack. And we have another close-up angle here of Chase Winovich. Notice right there, he just really impacts 77, bounces off of 66, and it's game over. And then looking at coverage real quick, down the field, nothing really coming open. Looks like McSorley's looking down to the left here. Good coverage here. Hamler's bracketed, so no real options by the time that McSorley is getting pressured. So really good job, especially by Chase Winovich, Gary, but all coverage is good as well.
Michigan brings pressure again.
Very next play, Uche picks up a sack. As far as routes go, you're going to have 2 vertical routes. The outside receiver cutting inside, this H-back sort of tight end cutting inside. Hamler's going to run a stick route, so that's a fake slant. And then he'll open his hips, run to the sideline. Whole play design here is to get Levert Hill caught up by these 2 vertical routes to open up Hamler on this route. It does actually work, but we'll go over that a little bit later. And then you'll have this fade route that long covers pretty well. So interesting route combination here on this pick. I've never seen that sort of pick route before. As far as the pass rush go, Michigan's only bringing 4. You're going to have the defensive tackles engaging the guards before looping to the outside. After they loop to the outside, or in the process, you're going to have the defensive ends cutting between the guards and tackles to try to get through this gap. Let's look at the right side first here. So this is Dwumfor and Winovich executing this. Thing I don't like from Dwumfor, he doesn't engage 66. Since he's just cutting outside now, 66 can react to Chase Winovich coming upfield, and it's essentially a double for a bit, and then the center can get a chip on him as well. So Dwumfor didn't set this up well for Winovich. As a result, he's on the ground, no impact there. Left side is executed much better. So look at Pay. Pay right now is engaged with 74. 74 is responsible for him. And Uche, he's already on his path to the quarterback between 52 and 74. Given that engagement from Pay before he loops around, that still leaves this gap for Uche, and he takes advantage of it. And, that gap is what allows Uche to make the play. Finally, the eyes of McSorley. You can see him start to look over here to see, what's the effectiveness of this pick route. And you will see that Hamler does get open here. So these 2 verticals, Levert Hill's all the way up here. And because they think that Hamler's over here, and you'll have Metellus, I believe, who will come up on the slant route. But since Hamler's cutting outside, that leaves a lot of room out here. Unfortunately for Penn State, McSorley's already getting sacked. So interesting play by Penn State, just great pass rush, and Uche is becoming one of the best in the nation as a pass rush specialist.
For 3, and they are a 25% the last 4 games, and just no.
Another sack for Josh Uche here. Let's look at routes first. It's outside receiver on a fade down the sideline. Hamler's on an inside release out route here. 24 is on a crossing route as well as with the outside most receiver. Then you'll have this tight end outside release in route here. Nothing really comes open here. If anything, it's maybe this crossing route, but at that point, McSorley's not having the best time. So good coverage downfield overall. Michigan's bringing 4. You'll have Uche again. He's coming on a stunt. You'll have Dwum 4 here, and then you'll have Winovich and Pay on the right side. So let's look at Winovich first. He's one-on-one on this side, coming off the edge, and he just beat 71 with the speed rush. Really like how he engages with the hands. He pushed down on this outside arm, and then he rips through with his right arm to get under the offensive lineman. This just gives him a little bit more bend and blocks him off before getting there. So if Uche doesn't get there, Winovich is there. Nothing much to note of Pay. He's not the best pass rusher. I think we've learned that. But on the left side here, this is where the magic happens. So you have Dwum 4. He's really the catalyst for this play. He's going to shoot the gap between 52 and 74. He wants to occupy both these offensive linemen. Uche is going to come here between 74 and 62. So let's move it forward a little bit. Notice how both are engaged right now with Dwum 4. Uche's on his way here. So number 2 are the eyes of the center. I don't know why he's looking over here. He might be expecting an off-the-edge blitz from Hudson, which would force the offensive lineman to shift over, and he would have to pick up this defensive tackle Pay. Really, I think he should be looking to the left because Bush poses a much bigger threat in an empty set like this. So he's looking the wrong way entirely. That leaves this huge gap for Uche, who takes advantage of it. So not sure what 62 is thinking there. Just
Wolverines crowding the line. They bring pressure, and McSorley will be knocked down again.
4th sack of the day so far for Michigan. Of routes, you're going to have a crossing route here from wide receiver at the top of the screen. Hamler's going to wait a little bit and then go on a crossing route. His wait is for this tight end to go up the seam. Then there's a wide receiver at the bottom of the screen running something. Impossible to tell. It looks like since Michigan's blitzing Hudson, that Hamler might open up here. Again, it's hard to say what sort of coverage is down here. I'd expect Kinnell or someone to be there to cover him there. Let's look at the blitz from Michigan. So Michigan's bringing Hudson off the edge, similarly Glasgow off the edge, and then they'll bring Chase Winovich and Gary as defensive ends and Dwum 4 as the nose tackle here. Dwum 4 is going to be doubled by the guard and center. You'll have the tackle responsible for Rashawn Gary. And then you'll have Miles Sanders correctly ID this blitz. He comes off and picks up Hudson, does pretty well. This tackle is going to kick out and get Glasgow. This guard's going to shift and get Chase Winovich. All things considered, they do adjust to the blitz pretty well. Let's look at the right side first. So like I said, Miles Sanders is going to come pick up Hudson. Gary's going to put 71 on ice skates here, really shove him into the backfield. He's the one who provides kind of a pressure. More importantly, he doesn't provide any sort of running lane for McSorley. Now he's under pressure. This lineman is getting pushed into his lap, so he's forced left because of Gary. Gary does just get held there by 66, who yanks him by the shoulder back, so would like to see a holding call there. On the top of the screen, Dwum 4 doubled. Good job by these linemen initially getting out there. Winovich does beat 74 to the outside. It looks like he's beat. This does look like a hold to me. Regardless, that leaves space for Glasgow to come inside there. So given Gary was there, probably should have gotten half a sack, but good job by Glasgow to finish the play.
Sanders, no.
Nothing going for Penn State on this Wildcat play. It's a representative of how the rest of their running game went all day. It's going to be a power left run. You'll have the the left guard, center, and this right tackle all blocking down, while the left guard pulls to kick out the defensive end, which is Winovich, and then this H-back who will be pulling here. You'll have the left tackle looking to get to the second level for any linebacker here on the second level. I want you to pay attention to Miles Sanders' eyes. So this is supposed to be like a read option that actually doesn't work, but it isn't actually a read option because you'll see that Miles Sanders is looking right where he's going. He's not reading anyone on this backside like a traditional read option would imply. Obviously, this play is blown up, and reason number one for that is Chase Winovich. So 66 has to get a good block here for 87 to effectively lead through this hole. He doesn't. Chase Winovich essentially blows this up. 87 does get through to the second level, but Chase Winovich is right in the path of Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders has to redirect outside. So it's a good job by Chase Winovich there. And then, Ross goes with McSorley here. And then you actually don't have Devin Bush. He was on a blitz on this left edge. So that only leaves two defenders for Michigan here. A little bit scary. 87 and 52 here both identify Hudson. Remember 52 is looking to get to the linebacker, and 87 is just going through the hole, finding probably inside out is what he's looking for. If he correctly IDs Kinnell's an unblocked man, and 52 gets out to Hudson, this could be a different play, but it's a good job by Kinnell to keep his outside arm free, make the tackle at the line of scrimmage. So really good job by Winovich. He helps make this play. Good job by Kinnell coming up to the line of scrimmage as well.
9. There's Mr. Winovich. They pick him up with two blockers, and McSorley tries to make something happen. Working hard, but he's got...
Nice stop by McSorley here on a play that looked like it was going to go for a first down. Looking at the routes. Inside release, sort of fade route here. It's kind of a strange route. Inside release, sort of a post pattern here out of the tight end in the slot here. Hamler's going to be running an in route, and then the outside receiver is going to be running an identical in route as well. You'll have Sanders off to the left side here, kind of as a safety valve. I'll pause multiple times through this, but you'll see that no one really comes open. There's a brief second that Hamler was open, but you can see at this point everyone's accounted for. Kinnell's bracketing both routes here, so no one's really coming open, and this is the point in time that McSorley has to run from the pressure, so nothing comes open initially. DNs are going to engage the tackle and then attack the gap between the guard and tackle. And then the defensive tackles are going to loop around to the outside. Looking at this left side first, this is good execution between Dorm 4 and Winovich. So notice how Winovich engaged a tackle first, and now he has a gap here. This forces both the guard and tackle to account for him, and you have Dorm 4 with free pressure on the left side here. So they execute it well, and that forces McSorley up and through the pocket like we saw him scramble to the left. The right side displays how we shouldn't run this stunt, because Uche here, instead of engaging the tackle, he goes straight for 66. Notice how these linemen haven't decided who to block yet. As a result, they can react really well to this stunt. Uche's doubled, and then to the outside, they can handle pay. 71 can. And then it's a good job here by Kinnell, who's bracketing these routes. He notices McSorley is running, so he screams upfield. I think Bush probably would be able to make the play on the edge here. It looks like Bush does have the angle, but Kinnell really ensures that it's not a big pickup here. So it's a really good job by him.
Still going! Wolverines!
Not sure what happened here. Tommy Stevens throws it right at Brandon Watson. As far as routes go, you're going to have number 3 on a fade route here. You're going to have a crossing route from 87. And on the outside, you're going to have an in route. And then you'll have a fly route on the outside. You can't see it from this angle. But nothing really comes open initially. You see fade is well covered, crossing route's well covered. You have this in route that has two men on it. Then on the outside, you do have this space here that's, I think, Stevens missed. I think he was probably trying to decide whether to go here to this tight end and here for whatever reason. I think this is Kinnell's responsibility, is to be deep over on this route. Regardless, he throws it right to Watson for whatever reason. Pressure is pretty simple. No one really gets in, so it's 4-man rush. No stunts or anything on this play. The right side doesn't get any penetration. You will see that Winovich does work his way inside, but that does leave this sort of lane for Stevens to leak to the left, which he takes advantage of. And it is probably the right decision because Winovich was breaking late. As I said, you do have a lot of free space here that I think Kinnell was giving up here that he should be further back on. But, I mean, the rest of this play is just Brandon Watson taking advantage of a weird situation and running it all the back for a pick six. Brandon Watson's probably the best non-starting cornerback in the country.
And delivers. Intercepted. Off the deflection.
Interception for David Long here. Nothing really special as far as routes go. You'll have a fade on the outside and out for 83. Identical in routes for 24 and Hamler. Then there's some guy on the outside on the right here that is irrelevant to this play. McSorley's looking to the left all the way. He's probably looking at 83. You're going to have David Long look like he's in man-to-man on number 3 here. He's actually going to sink into this flat. I think that could possibly affect the throw here for McSorley. Maybe he's seen David Long react to this play, and that's why he delivers to the back shoulder of 83. That, or it's just an inaccurate throw. But you know, the goal of the coverage is to sit here in the flat for this exact route, and then you'll have, I think this is Kalik Hudson over the top to cover anything deep like this fade that number 3 would be running. Pretty simple rush here for Michigan. They're going to bring 3 defensive linemen here, and then they'll bring Kinnell off the right edge. Penn State actually does a good job of IDing this blitz off the edge. And by the time that McSorley's throwing, he isn't dealing with any pressure. So it's a quick throw, but good IDing nonetheless. And then, as I mentioned, this is just a good job by David Long staying in the zone that he's assigned and reacting to the tip ball. So really, really good job here to keep his eyes back at the quarterback, sink into this zone, realize the ball. He doesn't over pursue. He looks where the ball is thrown and then reacts to the ball in the air and get the interception. So really good play and good trap coverage overall.